Oh, mute. There we go.
Hi, this is Ren.
This is Casey.
And this is All Walks of Film.
And YouTube. And other content providing channels.
Yeah, so we're covering the channel awesome controversy. Hashtag change the channel. Which kind of blew up over the past couple weeks. I was not expecting this from this channel. It's always surprising when this sort of thing happens. I mean, with things like the Weinstein Company and stuff like that, those are a little bit more obvious, even though, like, you know, that was a surprise, like how deep it got into things. But, like, you know, a bullshit website and YouTube channel where, you know, you just kind of joke and poke fun of movies and TV shows and stuff like that. You didn't expect this kind of stuff to come out from it. You know, yeah. So a lot of people have discussed this whole controversy. And I don't really want to walk on their toes, but I did want to bring this to light because it's affected me. I've unsubscribed to Channel Awesome. Yes, I was a subscriber, and I was a fan of them for a long time. Now, granted, my only exposure to the channel for the longest time was Doug Walker, which... if you get into the whole Google Doc and all that kind of stuff, like, you come to realize that there's a reason why that was the case. They were basically burying anything that wasn't Doug Walker in the channel, on the web page, and even on the YouTube page as well.
Yeah, I'll say I've been a fan of that guy with the glasses and Nostalgia Critic since I was in middle school or high school, something like that. Watched all of his videos, all the reviews, blah, blah, blah. And there were other producers that I was interested in, but I only would ever find out about any of them through crossover videos. And almost always it was better to try to find another way to watch them. Like, watching Todd and Shadows on Channel Awesome is so obnoxious. When I was really into Spoonie, the Spoonie Experiment, I never watched him on Channel Awesome. I always went to his actual webpage, and he was really smart for having his own webpage where he hosted his content that way, because that was the only way to actually watch his videos well.
Yeah, I actually was not familiar with Spoonie for the longest time. You were the one who introduced me to Spoonie. I mean, I just
brought Spoonie up as an example.
Okay.
But, just as an example, he said so himself, like, even when he was really popular, it's hard to watch, to find his content on Channel Awesome, but also just the way they have everything set up, it's actually very difficult to watch videos on their website.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of Browse Held High, which was on Channel Awesome. And anytime I try to look up their videos, I had a really hard time just trying to find the videos because, like, it was like, hey, you want to see Doug Walker stuff? And it's like...
Saw that already.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at another producer now.
Exactly. It was so frustrating.
So I will say, from a fan perspective, a lot of the stuff that the producers are bringing up about the way that the site functions feels very accurate to me from my experience on their site.
Yeah. So there was a document brought up by the producers, people who worked on Channel Awesome for several years, and they had a lot of grievances, and we're not going to cover that. If you want to check out a full video where they break down all of that. There's a wonderful channel called Frederick Knudsen, also known as Down the Rabbit Hole. He did a great breakdown of the whole document, and I listened to that because, quite frankly, I work and I don't have time always to sit down and read almost 100 pages of grievances.
I watched that video, I think, 3 times.
Okay.
It's a good video.
Yeah, it's a really good video. And once this upload is done, I'm going to post it in the description.
So once the document came out, though, and I want to echo Down the Rabbit Hole sentiments of this document, to certain capacity, is not official. It's full of allegations. I'm not saying that to discredit them. I'm just saying these are allegations with screen captures, which that's not, infallible proof. I didn't particularly hear anything in the document to dissuade me from believing these accounts. But you always have to take whatever you read on the internet with a grain of salt. You never know the story. You weren't there. You don't know. But then, of course, Channel Awesome has to do something to respond. They can't just sit there with their thumb up their butt. So I will say that the responses from Channel Awesome did more to credit the allegations in this document than anything else that they could have done. It actually felt a lot to me like after the Blackfish documentary came out, there was a Blackfish segment on the SeaWorld website. Bear with me here. Where they went through and they were like, "No, Blackfish is full of lies. It's not true. We're going to break it down point by point." Like here in the documentary where they said this. That was totally true, you guys. Blackfish is full of lies.
And speaking of Blackfish, just to go on to a tangent, I have heard some arguments both ways about Blackfish. I have heard that some of the stuff is manipulative and not 100% factual. And it's possible that some of the stuff in this document could be stretching the truth, not exactly like a lie, but could be blowing up a situation that might have been smaller than what it actually was.
Yeah. We don't know.
Yeah.
We do not know for certain.
And I just want you to know that, we are making our judgments based on hearsay and we don't have all the evidence. But given that a lot of these producers and people who have worked on Channel Awesome don't really have much to benefit from this, other than you could possibly see, something vindictive like revenge or something like that. Well, other than that,
we live in the Patreon. I'm not saying that they're doing this for Patreon, but I'm saying if you want to support them, I'm pretty sure most of them have Patreon.
So what are you trying to say that they're trying to get benefits from Patreon for this whole thing?
No, I'm not saying that that's what they're trying to do. I'm just saying it's not that they have nothing to benefit.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
All right.
I don't really believe that. Yeah, it didn't really cross my mind that they all got together and thought, we're not doing too well. What would be a great way to make money? Let's just come up with a lot of bullshit arguments and put it in a document online so everybody could read it with screen grabs that we all faked in Photoshop, so then maybe we can get like some more donations in our Patreon. Like, I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying like it's also a little disingenuous to say they can't benefit at all.
Yeah. So the Google Doc came out, and there was an initial response, which just really came off as disingenuous. So I'm going to read it. It's up on the screen right now. And you can formulate your own opinion, but we're going to state ours after this. We wanted to take a moment to clear the air and acknowledge some of the recent public concern raised by content creators previously associated with Channel Awesome. Channel Awesome is an organization that respects our producer partners and strives to create the best possible environment for everyone. We welcome a diverse community of people joining together to create great videos. For the people who have spoken out about past instances they deemed hurtful or unprofessional, we sincerely regret you felt that way. Our priority has always been to help content partners succeed and provide people a vehicle to follow their dreams. When the need arose, we have distanced ourselves from people who were particularly callous, letting go of significant stakeholders in the interest of keeping our mission at the forefront. We appreciate and hear the frustrations of our past producers. We're actively taking internal steps to better improve communication with our producers so they can be focused on putting out their great content. And we're open to constructive criticism, the kind that can help us even better and serve the needs of our community. But criticism isn't a means to a productive end. But criticism that isn't a means to a productive end does little for either party criticizing or those in the line of fire. Our focus now is moving forward with the wonderful team we have and all our dedicated followers. We want to make our collective future the best it possibly can be. We thank our content creators, team, and fans for truly making our channel awesome. Here's to creating something even better in our future. And that was such a non-apology. Like, the fact that they actually said, we sincerely regret you felt that way, just goes to show you that they don't care. Like, in this case, like, you need to say, like, we're sorry that our actions led you to feel this way. I mean, like, that's just adding a couple words that makes it slightly better.
And they already did a lot of adding a couple words that don't really mean anything. I mean, most of that was just nonsense fluff that doesn't mean anything. I mean, that was about as heartfelt and sincere as like a project summary on a Kickstarter campaign. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, so like after hearing that, I was kind of blown away just because like it was so unprofessional, and you would think that a channel that's raised thousands, if not millions of dollars on YouTube ad revenue, channel site revenue, Patreon, etc., that they would have better PR than this.
I do want to say something about the ads, though, that I personally thought was weird in the document. Is a lot of people addressed being kind of cornered about using ads and mid-rolls in their videos. Have you watched a Nostalgia Critic video recently? Like, they have sponsorship ads put into the videos.
Yeah, it's like this
at
fucking
least
like
an episode now.
No, I swear it's more than that. It's like some like YouTube. Not YouTube app.
There's the Black Tux one. There's the shaving one.
Is Stardust the one where it's like, hey, you can comment on movies? Yeah. Okay, got it.
And they're long advertisements too, and those are put into the videos.
Yeah, and I can't even skip them. It's so frustrating.
Right, and then they also have the advertisement at the beginning of the video, in the middle of the video, and at the end of the video. So in the middle of the video, you really have at least like 3 advertisements. Like, it's like watching a sitcom on television.
Yeah.
And so after that, seeing this document where they're being cornered because they're putting too many adverts or too many mid-rolls in their videos is so ridiculous. And a lot of these people, they don't have sponsorships. I mean, that was another thing that was brought up in the document, was the problem with the sponsorships. But they don't have the sponsorships where they also have, like, the ads that they can put into their videos like Nostalgia Critic does.
Yeah. And, I mean, that was the big issue that a lot of people brought up in the Google document, which is that like everything was centered around Doug Walker. I know I keep on reiterating this, but I get that he was that guy with the glasses, and that's what the original channel, page was named, and then they changed it. I think it didn't get changed into Channel Awesome until 2015. So it had been a thing for like a long time before they changed it to that title. But yeah, and then there was the whole issue with the movie that they made. There's a lot of BS that went into like not feeding crews and obviously not paying people, but like if you're not going to pay people, you got to feed people and you got to give them water, and that just seems basic.
You have to do that no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. I've worked on student projects. Every single student project I've worked on, I make sure that people eat. In fact, the only time I will ever yell at somebody on set is if they don't eat. But yeah, I will yell at somebody for not eating, especially when I have food provided for them. Only time I'll ever yell at somebody on set. You're giving me a strange look.
People can do what they want with their bodies. I'm just saying, like, the option has to be there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just overly concerned. Chibi Motokai says, I can't believe this didn't blow up sooner. I don't think a lot of this was hidden very well previously. Yeah, from what I've heard.
I mean, people were leaving en masse, like.
Yeah. And well, I didn't hear about it. I didn't follow this community that much during this time. You know, I followed them previously when they were that guy with the glasses. And then I kind of like dipped out when they started just making every video into like a long skit and not really reviewing things. And like oftentimes the reviews were like really half-assed. Like, you know, Doug Walker couldn't even formulate an opinion. It was just like kind of like, I kind of thought it was okay, kind of like not. And it was like, okay, what is your opinion, dude?
Yeah, I don't need a half-hour summary of a movie I've already seen.
Yeah. And that's the problem that a lot of reviewers get into. They just wind up just giving a recap of the whole thing, and it's like, yeah, but people don't go to hear a Cliff Notes version of the movie. They come to hear your opinion of the movie.
And for the record, I understand why they started doing these like reenactments, was specifically to get around like fair use problems, but they went way too overboard with it, probably because they spent time and money on costumes and just wanted to play dress up on camera, quite honestly.
And like, the whole
LARPing can be fun, but just call it LARPing, dude.
And the whole thing with the costumes was pretty messed up because like they weren't even allowed to keep their costumes, even though they had to pull the money out of their own pocket to make the costumes.
Well, to be reimbursed for making the costumes, they had to give up the costumes that they were required to make, even though they weren't required to be there. But, giant, obnoxious air quotes.
Yeah. And also that...
Well, getting into that...
Okay. Yeah, so we're going to get into their response that they came out with. And this was published on April 11th.
Yesterday.
Yeah. So
almost, well, 9 days after the not so awesome document came out. The reason why I point that out is not, I understand taking the time to like go through the document and see what people are saying and take some time to have a breather and collect your thoughts to come out with like a rational, well put together response, especially after that nonsense so-called apology statement came out and was so badly received. But I'm pointing out the fact that they did take the time, and this is what they came up with. Like, it's still this bad.
Yeah. And I gotta say, they're mostly a YouTube channel now. And why are they posting on their website for this? This should be something that you have like a candid video on.
Well, you would do that if you actually, you know, gave a shit.
Yeah. And I will say that a lot of grievances go to the CEO. I don't know what you call him.
COO, I think.
Okay. Mike Mashad. Who actually owns the Nostalgia Critic, which was something that was like weird when I heard about it. Because I originally thought, oh, well, the Nostalgia Critic is owned by Doug Walker, right? And then, no, it's owned by Mike Mashad, who owns Channel Awesome, and he owns the intellectual rights of everything that's produced on there, to my understanding. But, like, that's the problem. You don't really know the rules of Channel Awesome. They just kind of, like, made it up as they went. Anyways, let's get into the document. Since the posting of the Not So Awesome document on Monday, April 2nd, 2018, we've been exploring all of our options of how to address the lies that have been alleged by multiple disgruntled individuals with vindictive intentions. Okay, first of all,
we're sorry that you felt that way. You guys, you liars who are disgruntled with vindictive intentions. We're sorry that you feel the way that you feel.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's one of those things where it's like, you know, somebody's like just producing bullshit when the first thing they do is attack the people accusing them. Like, no, it's them, you guys. No, first of all, you need to like say, hey, we understand that like things haven't been professional, all that kind of stuff. Like, there's so many ways that you could take this situation and, you know, just be human about it.
Well, most importantly, even if we imagine for a moment that everything in that document is entirely inaccurate and is a lie and is vindictive, quote unquote, the response is not to just, you know, point fingers and call names.
Yeah.
Especially when you had time to sit and think about it. That's not accomplishing anything except for just making yourself look terrible.
Channel Awesome has always tried to keep our dealings with our content partners out of the public eye. And despite any differences or disagreements, we have never publicly spoken negatively about any of them.
Except for just a second ago, where we called them disgruntled individuals with vindictive intentions. Except for that time. Just that one time. That just happened.
But a response to the accusations leveled against us must happen. What kind of, like...
There's nothing wrong with the way you said it. It makes them sound like the League of Supervillains. It must happen.
Which is funny because like they like there was a period that they were called the League of Super Critics.
Mm-hmm.
And like they can't keep a consistent name. That's another weird thing about them. I don't know. I'm sure there's some explanation. I just don't know what it is. Obviously, we cannot address all 73 plus pages of accusations against us in this forum, but we will address the most egregious now. So hopefully there's some more later, I guess. I mean, this document in and of itself is not that long.
No, it really isn't. But also, I don't understand why they specifically said we can't address all the accusations on this forum. It's your forum that you're writing on your website. There is not a better platform to sit down and address all 73 pages of allegations against you.
Yeah. This isn't a YouTube video where like you're
or
like spending
like this isn't a tweet. There's no character limit.
Yeah, take your time, do it. Accusation. Jane Doe accuses us of knowing about a sexual deviant for over a year.
So first of all, the very first thing that they want to point out is the accusation that was made by somebody who was not a content creator for their channel, not a producer, did not produce content for them, is a fan of the site. That's the first thing they go to. And second of all, I feel like maybe don't immediately go to, hey, you fan who feels like so sensitive about the situation that you're trying to hide your name, you're a liar.
Yeah. So, that's the whole thing that they got into with the grooming, which that's something that I'm not like really familiar with. I mean, I've heard various stuff about that, you know, as far as legal concerns, you know, that does fall under sexual harassment, but you know, as far as like rape and that kind of thing, it's a moral gray zone, legal gray zone. You know, coaxing somebody into, I mean, it's coercion. It is sexual coercion, I would say.
But she's not a content creator. She is not affiliated with the site. And she's the first person that they go to talk about.
I guess
that's not okay. That's really not okay. Hey, this document that's all the people who used to work with us who are talking about the way our channel runs, we're going to put them on the back burner and go straight to this 18-year-old girl who's hiding her identity. She's the biggest liar.
Yeah, that is weird.
Like, they went to the end of the document, too. It's not like, oh, in the document, she's the first thing that comes up. She's at the end for a reason. Like, the fact that they put her up front first is just really upsetting.
All right. This fact, the screenshot below clearly demonstrates the time elapsed from being made aware of the individual in question, name redacted for legal reasons, and the time the content partner was released from Channel Awesome. 3 weeks, not over a year. During the 3-week period, we consulted a lawyer and waited to see if anyone would come directly to us, as our only knowledge of this was secondhand. It is obvious the person who came forward with this in the Not So Awesome document wants their name protected, so we will continue to do so.
So they include a little couple of screen grabs that supposedly prove that the time elapsed between being made aware of the fact that one of their producers was being accused of being sexually deviant and when they let him go. So the first screen grab that they post, this is presumably from their Skype chats. This is how they primarily interact with each other. And it's dated January 21st, 2013. And the second one is dated February 12th, 2013. This is supposed to prove the time discrepancy, because the first screen grab supposedly proves, hey, this is the first time we heard about this, and the second one proves this is when we let him go, supposedly. What the screen grabs actually say, it's a conversation between Rob Walker, I believe Mike Michaud, and Doug Walker, and Holly. I'm not sure if she goes by Holly Christine or Holly Brown. In the document, she's Holly Brown, who was the head of HR and is one of the contributors to the Not So Awesome document. So the conversation on January 21st is, Rob, Mike, and Holly, I'd like to meet at 10:30 a.m. to discuss how we're going to handle Redacted. Thanks. Redacted is the content producer who's being accused of being a sexual deviant. Mike, I'm going to be at the location waiting on the flooring delivery. Rob, wait, are you not going to be around at 11 for the meeting? Mike, the tracking updated to state that it would be delivered today. All the floor and wall pieces, it originally stated it would be on Tuesday. Rob, well, what do you want to do? Mike, plus I didn't get a hold of the lawyer. Mike, just hold it off. You wanted me to talk to our lawyer, Mike, and he isn't in today either. Rob, well, it may be moot. The girl doesn't want to file a formal complaint, which means we can't really say it's because of his involvement with her. She's afraid of repercussions. So the question is, what do we tell Redacted? Just that he's dropped? Doug, I think we can at least tell him we've been getting complaints about it. That'd be my thought. Rob, well, the person who complained doesn't want it getting back to her. Mike, Holly, and I will talk later. We postpone the meeting for now. Mike cannot be there at 11 anyway because of a botched delivery. Mike and Holly, at what point should we talk about what we're going to say? And when should we reschedule the meeting with Redacted? Holly, oh, are the three of us not talking about it tomorrow? Rob, we can talk about it tomorrow. Holly, oh, wait, didn't Mike say something about talking to the lawyer, or is that about something else? Rob, well, I asked him to ask the lawyer just in case. I suppose we can wait until Mike hears back. Redacted asked via Skype text what the meeting was going to be about. I just ignored him. This is supposed to prove, oh, we're just hearing about this on this date. What this proves is, A, they don't know how to run their sets. B, they do intentionally ignore people, which was something that was brought up a lot in the document. The fact that Rob specifically says, oh, I saw this text, I just ignored it, shows that this is, and he's specifically openly saying that to other people who are running the site. This is just their MO. They do openly ignore people who are trying to have an open communication with them. That is their MO. So those things from the document are all being proved with this. But this also shows that they knew about it since at least before January 21st. They had already been planning on having a meeting to drop him by January 21st. This does not prove, oh, hey, I just heard this thing. We need to do something about that ASAP. Okay, I'm going to talk to a lawyer about it. That's not what the screenshot proves at all. Also, I want to point out something very specific. They said the screen cap is supposed to prove that they were waiting for other people to step forward and complain about this guy because they had only heard secondhand accounts about him. But they specifically say the girl doesn't want to file a formal complaint, which means we can't say it's because of his involvement with her. Now, let's ignore the fact that they decided to go ahead and screen grab this and publish this for the whole world to see after the fact. But also this proves that, yeah, she did talk about it. They did have a first-hand experience. This screen cap literally disproves most of what they were already saying was the fact against this allegation. Like, this is a hot train wreck. This proves they don't know how to communicate with each other. They do ignore their producers when they're trying to be contacted. And that they did know that there were allegations of sexual misconduct against this content producer. And that they don't know how to handle it professionally.
Yeah, that's the most frustrating part about this is just how unprofessional they are. And like, I would be more forgiving if they weren't as big as what they were.
Or that they weren't trying to run it like a legitimate business.
Yeah.
The second screenshot, which is from February 12th, is a conversation between Rob and Mike, and it says, "Did we want to drop Redacted on Friday? And if so, what time?" Mike, "Early, 10 to 11-ish. Robert, "Okay, I'll grab him tomorrow or Thursday." Which, really, the only thing this proves is this thing that everybody says about, like, being dropped on a dime in a really unprofessional manner is also completely accurate. And the reason why I'm saying that, like, now I believe it is because when the people being accused are now providing the evidence of the thing that they're being accused of doing, I'm going to believe that that's true.
Yeah.
So these, in my eyes, these screen grabs absolutely do not prove that, oh, we only knew about these allegations for 3 weeks. It does prove to me that they knew about it at least longer than 3 weeks.
Yeah. Accusation. Sean Foes, I don't know how to pronounce that name, accuses former Channel Awesome COO and founder Mike Ellis of a conversation of sexual nature that lasted over 2 years.
Oh, I'm really sorry to backtrack. I did kind of want to just put out there for the record what Jane Doe wrote about her experience on the Google Doc.
Okay.
Just to put into context what this whole "they knew about it for over a year" thing was. The following story is from an anonymous contributor we are calling Jane Doe, recounting the story of a former producer who had sexually abused her and claims that management was aware of said producer's deviancy for a year and did nothing. Pieces of information, including names, are removed for the sake of privacy. Jane Doe has given us permission to share the story, but not her name. At least 2 other victims have come forward regarding this person, but whether management knew about them is uncertain. The chat is copied verbatim with the victim's permission. This is one of the weird things about the screen grabs that they posted too in the response that Channel Awesome posted. They did say, oh, we should just tell him we're getting multiple complaints about it.
Yeah.
Like that was going to be what they were going to say to him when they fired him. Jane Doe, Hi, I'm one of his victims. I have nothing but hate for him. It makes me mad at all of you, even though I know you don't deserve it. It's why I left. Yeah, he groomed me. Anon 1, I think at first we need to come to terms with the fact that a lot of people in this chat legit did not know. Jane Doe, that's something I need to come to terms with. I burned so many bridges with you because I was so angry, so I'll tell my facts, but I want to leave out anyone who doesn't need this shit. Anon, to me, the most damning part is that folks knew and had a chance to cut off his access to fans early and did not. Jane Doe, I don't know. I'm sure I'm part of it. I could have been louder. I'm no angel. Anyway, you all knew me back then. Physically, I was 18, but had a mind of a 16-year-old at best. He groomed me, convinced me to take off my clothes for him, told me he wanted to teach me how to kiss, fuck, etc., made it seem like it was like teaching someone how to read. Anyway, I genuinely thought he was being an impassionate teacher. I came forward as best I can. Yeah, it wasn't until I read a pamphlet on child grooming techniques that I went, holy shit, that was me. Yeah, that's the damning part. Since he didn't hurt me, I wonder how much of it was him genuinely thinking he was helping me come into my sexuality. But I am really done with all of this. I'm a different person in a different world, and I really can't judge it all back and remain mentally healthy. This is about as brave as I can get. I was so mad at all of you. I'm glad some of my anger was misplaced. I'm sorry I burned so many bridges. I was just so angry. Yeah, part of the reason I couldn't say much was because grooming isn't illegal, and I can't say he raped me, so there wasn't anything to tell. Yeah, seriously, like I said, when I read a pamphlet on child predator techniques, I was like, what? Oh my god, that was him and me. Anon 2, Jane, if you want to say anything else, do you recall how long ago it was that you came forward to channel Awesome Management that he was finally let go? Jane Doe, it's kind of hazy, but I'd say maybe a year, ? Anon 2, something like a year between them first finding out he was sexually grooming female members of the channel's fan community to them doing anything about it. Jane Doe, yeah, and it didn't make me feel any more heard. Lol, I have to say this was very therapeutic. I'm sorry for all the times I lashed out at you. You didn't deserve it, and I took my anger out at you. So the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because this document is making it very overt that they're not saying, we know for a fact that Channel Awesome knew for over a year, specifically from this date to this date, that something was being done and they did nothing about it. What they are saying is that we know that you had gotten complaints about sexual misconduct and you went for a period of time without doing anything about it. And of course, the Channel Awesome response is, nuh-uh, it was only 3 weeks. Here, let's prove to you that it was at least longer than 3 weeks.
Yeah, they're really digging themselves in a hole here, and like, if I were a lawyer, and I'm not, nor have I ever taken any law school classes, but I would say that this is really digging themselves into a hole here. Mm-hmm. You know, like, I'm glad that they made a response. It's not a good response. But yeah, they're really digging their own grave with this response. It's bad.
Well, I also think that it's really upsetting that they went specifically to this particular example because this is the least substantiated point out of anything in the Google Doc, I think. At one point, there was a link to another Google Doc that was written by fans who had experienced certain forms of harassment from the creators of Channel Awesome that has since been removed.
I was not familiar of this.
I'm not familiar with what was in the contents of the second the second document from the fans. It's been removed from this particular document because of quote unquote verification.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what it said. But, I mean, I just read it out for you that this was the least substantiated point they could have picked from this document. And instead of bringing up the fact that, like, oh, yeah, we had this content creator on board who is being accused of sexual misconduct and we knew about it. Let's just prove that we didn't know about it for a very long time. And also prove that we at least knew about it longer than we're saying we knew about it.
Yeah, it's bad. All right, so getting on to the whole thing with Sean Foes and the apparently drunken conversation that he had. This is on page 49 and 50 of the Google Doc. I'm trying to find it right now.
No, I can find it. Keep going.
Okay. So the whole accusation of a conversation with sexual nature and fact, Michael Ellis resigned from the company and no contract from Michael Ellis was attempted after the conversation was reported to Mike Mashad. With any termination involving a founder and shareholder, legal separation must happen, and this takes time. And then they have a screen grab. This went on for 2 hours. For these 2 hours, I typed not one word to him. But he had this entire conversation with himself and multiple times tried to say, "Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you off" tactic on me, as if it was going to make things better. I showed this conversation log to 2 people. I believe I showed part of it to Rolo T because I was freaked the fuck out. And he was this guy I trusted the most. And I remembered him being completely blown away. The other person I showed was Mashad. I messaged Mashad telling him, "Look at what this guy's doing. I'm super freaked out." And keep in mind, I believe this was just before the anniversary brawl. The only thing I ever heard from Mashad was, "Damn it, I told him he couldn't be doing this shit. I'll take care of it." And then it was never spoken of again. I never heard from Ellis again, and I have zero idea if that was part of the reason he was fired from the company or not. And interestingly enough, they exclude what the actual conversation was or like what it was about or anything on this response documentation.
Right. This screen grab on the response that was posted on Channel Awesome is actually a screen grab from the Not So Awesome document. So this is them attempting to take the defense's proof and twist it against them somehow. But really what they're saying is they're only responding to this last sentence of, "I never heard from Ellis again, and I have zero idea if it was part of the reason he was fired from the company or not." They're saying he wasn't fired from the company, he resigned. And no contact from Ellis was attempted after the conversation was reported to Mike Mashad.
Yeah, and
but that's still not addressing this piece that they're including themselves of Mike Mashad saying, "I told him he couldn't be doing this, I'll take care of it." The fact that they're including that line specifically as like, no, see, we handled it right. See, this is what he said. As though that is at all acceptable or professional.
Yeah, it's the whole thing reads as a whole bunch of stoners that don't know how to run a business, and then they're just like, "Wait, what? Oh, wait, I'll handle this. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry."
This is complete ad hominem, I realize, but just from those 2 points, my impression of them reading this document is them reading all this stuff and saying, "So what? What's wrong with that?"
Yeah, and that gets into the whole like perspective thing, and I know that there are people who look at certain things and they don't see the issue that other people see. And yes, I do understand that perspectives are different. 2 people can see the same exact situation two completely different ways, which is one of the things that I feel is important to discuss when you're trying to question the validity of this document.
But the fact that they're specifically quoting this as though, like, oh yeah, we totally behaved that way. Like, you're reinforcing the concept that, yeah, that is how you behaved when you heard about that. And you don't see a problem with it.
Yeah, it's bad.
I mean, it sounds like they heard that whole thing and they were like, no, wait, we didn't fire Ellis. He resigned.
Yeah, which makes it sound worse. It's like, what
you didn't even fire the guy after that? What?
Yeah, it's like, we need you to resign.
The COO of the company tells somebody who works for him as a content creator that he's a sexual cupcake. And you didn't fire him. You just said, oh shit, I told him he couldn't be doing stuff like that because I've witnessed him doing these things before.
Yeah, and just speaking on this, because I've experienced this kind of shit before myself. I'm a very open, very comfortable with my sexuality. And, I've been to gay clubs. I've been to environments where...
With your boss?
No. But I'm saying, yeah, that's different. But what I was saying was, like, there are people that can be pushy. And it wasn't until I was in that kind of environment that I ever experienced what women go through all the time. Just speaking of this particular thing. I'm sorry. No. All right. Accusation. Multiple content partners state payment for their contributions to the site were not compensated. Fact. From the beginning of the site, anyone that has been added as a content partner was informed that Channel Awesome was an aggregator for their content. At no time did Channel Awesome take a cut of their videos. As the practice is with multi-channel networks, MCNs, we never want to be an MCN and only ask them to schedule their videos that they were already doing for Blip TV and YouTube.
Hold up. First of all, this, again, does verify things that were being said in the Google document about this idea that they're acting like, oh, be grateful that we're not taking money from the revenue of the content that you are single-handedly creating and producing yourself. Be grateful that we're not taking additional money out of your pocket. Like, that is, they're clearly showcasing that, yes, they do in fact have that attitude. Right there. But also they're saying, no, we're only asking them to schedule the videos that they're already doing. But they, according to the Google document, what they were doing was they were saying, you need to be doing this many videos a month, and you need to be doing this in this particular style, and you can't include this in this, and we're going to put all these restrictions on you, and you have to meet a quota, and you have to do it by certain deadlines. At that point, that is a thing where, like, okay, no. You're dipping into their time and their ability to make their own content. They should be compensated for that. If you're going to say you need to do a certain amount of content in a certain amount of days by a certain date in a specific way, and you can't include this content and you can't include that content, and you can't include links to your Patreon, you can't have this many mid-rolls, you have to include this and that. At that point, you're mandating that it has to be done a certain way to fit onto your site, which means that you should be compensating them. It's not a thing of, oh, well, they're making their own content the way they would make it. We're just offering them the chance to also put it on our platform.
Yeah. We gave them access to over 300 million page views. Wait, what? What? Am I reading this right? We gave them access to over 300 million pages. You don't give them access to that.
More importantly, they're saying we gave them access to over 30 million page views and over 1 million unique viewers a month at our height. I believe that the Nostalgia Critic had that kind of viewership at his height, but there is no way, with the way that their website is set up, that their producers that are being hidden all the way in the back and all the way at the bottom, that aren't being promoted, that aren't being viewed like when their updates go up, or who schedule their videos on time and then are pushed back a month, 2 months, 3 months, or who you have to go to all this extra stuff with these drop-down bars and menus and classifications and sortings for all these different things to even find their content to begin with. There's no way that those producers were ever seeing over 30 million page views and over 1 million unique viewers a month.
Yeah, I mean, it was buried. You know, it's worse than the YouTube algorithm for a lot of pages, because like one thing I've noticed is because like I've been kind of messing around with the algorithm, and it seems like what YouTube does is they follow whatever trends you've been keeping up for the past couple days. And yeah, I know that I like to watch things in like spurts, but I really don't like that algorithm. I don't like the fact that when I'm watching like YouTube and then I watch like one channel that has opinions that I don't agree with, but you know, I'm like curious and I just like hearing multiple opinions, and then I constantly get fed in that kind of stuff.
But at least with that algorithm, if you're looking at a video or a couple videos or multiple videos by a specific content creator, it will keep recommending that content creator to you.
Yeah.
Versus with me, make believe I'm back in high school, and I see, oh, hey, this crossover with the Spoony one. Try and find the Spoony one's videos and look up his stuff. But I can't figure it out because of their drop-down menus. Like, I cannot figure out where he's supposed to be because he's listed under blistered thumbs, which doesn't make any sense to me at all. Okay, well, maybe I can find a video somewhere else. Maybe I'll just Google the Spoony one. Oh, hey, here's his own website. That's how I got to his website, was because I couldn't even find his content on their website.
Yeah, I mean, I wound up having to go to Google just to navigate their website all the time. Like, it's like, oh, I want to see this content creator, but like their website's messed up, so Google.
And they're not providing any proof that they were providing access to over 30 million page views and over 1 million unique users.
Yeah, yeah. Where's that screen grab?
Yeah, where is any of that documentation? So even though I shouldn't, I'm going to go ahead and say that all of that is bullshit. I don't believe any of that.
Channel Awesome viewed the partnership as a way to help content partners grow their audience while bringing in new content and increasing the community within the site.
So we were paying them in exposure.
Yeah, and quite frankly, when it came to exposure, like really the only exposure that they got is if they were in a Nostalgia Critic video.
Yeah. That's the only way I knew about anybody.
Yeah, when they did like their crossover videos where they had Nostalgia Chick, Spoony,
Brows Held High,
Ankara,
the only way I knew
really got screwed over by this.
The only way I knew about Bennett the Sage was actually because a friend of mine knew about him and recommended him to me, and I started watching his videos that way. If it wasn't for a friend's recommendation, I would never have known that Bennett the Sage existed.
Yeah, and I really like Bennett the Sage from like what I've seen.
He's fantastic. I'm not trying to talk badly about him. I'm just saying I never would have known that he existed from the way that their site functioned.
Yeah, their site was like very poorly designed and handled, and you would think with a site this popular, because let's face it, most people know the Nostalgia Critic. Like the Nostalgia Critic isn't like an obscure name,
right? But what I don't understand is the purpose of hiring on content providers and then not doing anything to promote their work. Because the only way I can figure out from the way that their website is laid out, actually finding anybody's content, besides seeing crossover work, is if you decide you're just randomly gonna like do the drop-down menu and just click on every single person and try at least a couple videos and see who you like and you don't like. And almost nobody is willing to do that. Including me. Like, I'll definitely say, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Further benefiting content partners, Channel Awesome covered all costs associated with the server.
I'm sorry, further benefiting. We gave them exposure bucks. That's a benefit. Totally.
Hosting and labor costs associated with maintenance and updates. Standard website shit that, like, okay.
Like, if you own your own domain, you're like, you can pay for that for like $30 every 3 months.
Yeah.
That's not a benefit. That's basic.
Exactly. And plus, like, you are making so much money off of this stuff. Like, how is this like an inconvenience to you? Some content partners even had their servers for their own sites paid for by Channel Awesome. None of these costs were ever passed along to our content partners.
And again, it's that really condescending attitude of like, just be grateful. Just be so grateful.
Accusation. The document talks about drop in traffic to the site. Fact. While we did have an initial drop after the switch to demo reel, the real hit to the site's traffic came after our growing presence on YouTube, not when the Nostalgia Critic killed his character off.
That's what they're talking about, the switch from the Nostalgia Critic to demo reel.
Yeah. But they don't say that in here. When we relaunched the Nostalgia Critic show in January of 2013, Blip TV decided to start placing the full episode up on the League of Super Critics channel a week after we launched it on thatguywiththeglasses.com. As we grew on the League of Super Critics, more and more viewers decide to watch it on YouTube instead of our site.
I want to stop there because they're again doing this thing of reinforcing what people were accusing them of on the Google documents, because the quote unquote fact before this is they're saying, well, no, when we hired them, they knew that they were being paid for in exposure because we were getting them so much revenue and viewership through our site. Now they're saying, oh, but then this thing happened where people started watching it on YouTube instead of watching it on our site anyway.
So their exposure was through the YouTube algorithm and not through your fucking site.
Exactly. So you were not giving them exposure dollars. You were not paying them an exposure anymore. And you were not doing anything to compensate for that.
Yeah.
So they're essentially only benefit. I'm not going to count the cost of the servers and hosting as a benefit. That's bullshit. But the only benefit from working on their site was going out the window. And they're trying to be like, no, that's not a problem that we needed to fix.
So Chibi Mordecai says, I discovered a lot of people from this group after they already left.
Yep.
And I like those people now. I like those people now than when they were with Channel Awesome. Though, to be fair, I think some of them were better off with Channel Awesome. I know that sounds horrible. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. And I mean that in a collab setting. Some of the people who left I feel can't stand on their own.
I think that's fair enough. I feel like I had the same experience with some of the content creators who I would enjoy in the crossovers, and then I would check out their actual work and I wouldn't like them on their own that much. But I mean, that's also subjective. It's also just taste. You're not going to like everybody that you see. You're not going to like all the content creators, and that's okay.
Yeah. Death by Blunderbuss says, I have a friend, I'll leave it at that, who's done extensive work with Walker's channel. Awesome. And didn't get paid a penny for it. Haven't heard back from him if he's still working for them or not. If he is still working for them, well, he's probably not going to be a friend anymore.
Oh,
that's rough.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. As we grew on League of Supercritics, more and more viewers decided to watch it on YouTube instead of our site. The biggest blow to our site's traffic before the downfall of Blip TV, while we won't go into the full details, we were forced to abandon the League of Supercritics channel and instantly start a new channel that's awesome in May 5th, 2015. This is a point when traffic began to quickly drop off our site, now channelawesome.com. Well, yeah, you changed your site's name, and for anybody like looking up on Google, whenever you change your name like that, it becomes confusing to people, you know, when they get used to a certain channel name, unless they're specifically looking for Doug Walker stuff. You can easily see how like people would be confused. I was confused myself because like I did follow the League of Supercritics, and then like, you know, I couldn't find it anymore, and then I found out later that they were Channel Awesome, and yeah, it was confusing because I wasn't following them like on, you know, a regular basis.
Once again, this is them reinforcing the concept that they don't know how to handle their shit. Like hearing them explain it like this, it's like, wow, you literally don't have any idea how to maintain your public image or how to communicate with your fans. Yeah. You don't know what you're doing at all.
What Doug Walker couldn't have produced a 2-minute video saying, hey, we're this now.
Well, I don't know if he did or not, but that's probably not enough to actually help the flow of viewership steadily move from one area to another area. One of the biggest accusers stated that they might still be on the site if the views were there, as stated by Kaylin below. I believe that's Mars Girl. I'm not 100% sure. I've stated this a few times elsewhere, but had he decided to wean his audience onto demo reel rather than just suddenly hard-stopping Nostalgia Critic to literally everybody's surprise, maybe it could have done well, and maybe we'd all still be relying on channelawesome.com for some of our views, because once Too Boldly Flee happened and there was no more Nostalgia Critic, viewership plummeted. Not just for Doug, but for everyone, because people quit showing up to the site. Had he slowly introduced people to demo reel, maybe even with the characters as a side gag attached to the Nostalgia Critic, then spun them off as their new show featuring these characters you knew from the Nostalgia Critic, then it might have worked. Maybe this would have never happened, but it did, and the way To Boldly Flee was written and how the death of the Nostalgia Critic was executed, here we are today. And once again, they haven't done anything to actually detract from her argument, because her argument is, when you introduced this brand new cancellation to your audience with no warning and no aptitude for what you were doing, you hurt all of us. And if you're paying us in exposure bucks, you are responsible for our exposure. And you hurt the exposure by doing it this way. And she's offering these ideas of like, well, you could have done this, you could have done this. This argument of like, well, we did have a drop, but the problem was we had a bigger drop that came after that. So what you're saying is you had this drop, you didn't learn from it, and then you did even worse in the future because you didn't learn from it.
Yeah. And they're learning even more because people are dropping from the site by the thousands daily. And if you want to see that, what was the site called?
I think it's is it societyblade.com?
Social Blade?
Oh, I think it was Social Blade.
Yeah, socialblade.com. I'm going to look it up real quick.
But I'm looking it up. You have it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, they've been losing thousands daily, with its highest peak being on Friday. Probably when most people were actually able to get onto YouTube to find out what the hell was going on. This is bad.
Like I said, the worst thing about this supposed response is that it's just doing a better job of making them look terrible than the actual document did.
Accusation. Multiple content partners have alleged our anniversary specials were not compensated for time worked and crossover videos were asked to be turned over if filmed to Channel Awesome. Fact. When invitations for the anniversary specials were issued, we made it clear to all content partners that their participation was on a voluntary basis. In addition, content providers were always given the option of declining our invitation with no question asked and no repercussion. It's a volunteer basis. Like,
thank you. What were you going to say? Oh, you have to join? It's mandatory? Or, oh, it's voluntary for you to join, but if you don't join us, then we're going to push you even further into obscurity?
Yeah.
This is so pathetic that they think like, oh, we did you such a favor.
Yeah, because like we said before, the only way that a lot of these channels got exposure was when they did the specials where they did the crossovers and everything like that. Otherwise, people wouldn't know who they were because they didn't make the site navigatable.
Yeah, exactly. So this concept of like, well, we shouldn't have had to compensate them. They knew it wasn't compensated. It was all voluntary. It's not really voluntary if that's the only way for them to actually get any viewerships.
Whitey from Austria said, only 5 contributors left on the site. Death by Blunderbuss says, I think they well past bad at this point. Which ones are left? World of Love said Guru, Larry, and Brad left.
Oh, Brad left too? I know Angry Joe's left too. He recently left. And he said effective immediately, he will not be cross-posting his content with them anymore.
Which is good because, like, I'm a fan of Angry Joe.
Well, I'm actually pretty sure Guru Larry isn't with them anymore. I'm not sure. But if Brad Jones is gone and Angry Joe is gone, I'm pretty sure that leaves only Doug and Rob Walker. I'm not entirely sure if that's true. But from what I've heard lately, I think that could be true.
And then they're going to have to face what everybody faces on YouTube. You got to do it yourself.
To quote the Google document, Doug and only Doug.
We understand we were asking our content partners to give up their time, and not everyone could do that. The producer contract for Channel Awesome 3rd anniversary film participation was outlined the following terms and conditions for those who did agree to participate, including participation was voluntary. Crossovers were never required.
And then there's a screen cap of the contract. And Obscurus Lupa posted a tweet saying, thank you for the refresher on our contract because we were not given copies of the contract to keep for ourselves. And the contract says, producer contract for Channel Awesome 3rd year anniversary film participation, drafted 3/18/2011. By signing this contract, I agree to the terms and conditions below. Channel Awesome will not be held liable for any injuries sustained during the filming of this production. Channel Awesome will also not be held responsible for any items lost, damaged, or broken. Starring in this production is voluntary. Channel Awesome producers are participating of their own volition and may opt out of participating by refusing to sign this contract or by contacting CEO Michael Machad, CCO Rob Walker, or HR Holly Brown. All participants in 3rd year anniversary video may participate in or film crossover videos with other attending producers. They may. They're allowed to. While highly encouraged, this process is strictly voluntary, and failure to do so will not in any way affect Channel Awesome's view of attending producers. However, any crossover videos, shows, or vlogs filmed during the course of this event will become the strict property of Channel Awesome. Channel Awesome reserves the rights to do with these videos what it sees fit and to assume any monetary benefit from the publication of said videos via blip, other multimedia, or DVD sales. These crossover videos will be used to recoup costs of lodging, travel, logistics, and production. That does not include Crafty. Any questions may be addressed to CEO Mike Michaud, CCO Robert Walker, or HR Holly Brown before and or after signing. However, after signing, the contract is binding and no decisions will be reversed. Okay, first of all, this is horribly amateurish.
Yeah, this just seems like a copy and paste from film school.
No, copy and paste from film schools are more professional than this. I have never seen a contract so unprofessional, even when I was in school. This is ridiculous. But also they're saying like, oh, they should be so grateful that we never took a piece of their revenue for the content that they created and published themselves. Except for when they really just had to do it to actually get their views seen at all for their crossovers, which I guarantee for many people is their most viewed content, is the crossovers. No, that we own entirely and we get all the money from that. It's just exposure bucks. That's all you get.
Everyone who attended the anniversary was told that Channel Awesome would cover the cost of travel, lodging, breakfast, lunch, and dinner if filming went late.
Not they would cover the cost of travel, lodging, breakfast, lunch, and dinner during filming. If filming goes late, we'll take care of you.
Yeah, and that's a very important note to make, because like you would think in reading that like, oh, I'm good, but like it's cleverly written so that they don't have to do anything and they just have to meet a production schedule and not do anything.
Like I said, seriously, I'm not kidding. The standard for student film projects is better managed than this.
Yeah, and I've been on some bad sets, but I've never
been on very bad sets. But even the sets where Crafty wasn't provided to the people who were building the sets for 12 hours straight, and then Crafty also poisoned certain members of the crew, it was still handled more professionally than this, and also had better written contracts.
Accusation. A few content partners alleged a misogynistic work atmosphere by Channel Awesome. Fact. Channel Awesome's current and former female staff, including Tamara Chambers, Rachel, I am trying to say that without Tates, Ayanna Wade, and Heather Roosh, have vastly different experiences than the one described. We're always trying to improve ourselves both personally and professionally. And moving forward, oh, they love saying that. We implement mandatory sensitivity. Oh my God. Mandatory sensitivity training for all staff to ensure we maintain a culture of respect for all employees. Oh my God. Like the sensitivity training is like that's like the worst fucking thing, because it's like sitting in a class where they're like, this is what sexual harassment is. Don't sexually harass people.
Well, I'm curious to see if people are compensated for their mandatory sensitivity training. More importantly, this is easily the worst thing that they wrote in their entire supposed rebuttal or defense of themselves. Oh, you know, all these comments of you know, sexual misconduct and misogyny. Well, we have other women who didn't experience that. So clearly it just didn't happen at all. Clearly, we don't have a thing of certain people get treated a different way than other people. That's so insane. This concept of like, oh, well, certain people were, you know, sexually harassed and certain people experienced misogyny, but other people didn't. Therefore, there is no misogyny. We're fine. I mean, that's not what they're saying. But by saying we're not going to address any of that and just say, well, here's a couple examples of people who will say that they haven't experienced misogyny. Like, I'm flabbergasted. I have never... I'm beflummoxed by this. I don't understand, A, how anybody thought that was going to make them look good, but B, how you would ever think of such a thing. Like, that's like saying, like, oh, hey, I eat 3 square meals a day every day. My neighbor doesn't have enough money to eat. But because I eat 3 square meals a day, clearly there's not a problem of poverty in my neighborhood.
Yeah, and
how did they think that would ever fly? All that's showing is like, okay, so clearly you treat certain members in your community better than others.
I'm gonna bring this up because this is throwing a lot of shade. But I do know that Doug Walker dropped out of film school the first year, and I think he didn't learn that basic thing about craft and those important things. You know, I'm just bringing this up because, like, you know, he has said that he's gone to film school and all that kind of stuff. And you would think that somebody who actually went to film school would know I mean, hell, even if you didn't go to film school, just like how not to be a fucking shitty person. Like, you know, if you're going to have people come over and you're not going to pay them and they're working all day, I don't know how close a restaurant is. And quite frankly, people shouldn't have to pay to leave your set to just, you know, get food. Yeah. And especially the whole desert thing.
No water in the desert. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, that I'm surprised you didn't get sued for that.
Well, that was one of the only times they had a contract.
Okay.
A really terrible one that I'm pretty sure any lawyer could have worked around, but who has the money to pay their lawyer with exposure bucks?
Right.
Also, just thinking this way and treating people this way, not just like, oh, you went to film school for a year, you should know better. Just, you've worked with people for like 10 years, and you clearly don't have respect for them as human beings.
Yeah, but, you know, anything that involves you is okay. But, you know, the minute it comes to other people, yeah, it's just, oh my God. You would think that they would be better. Like, accusation. Holly Brown makes numerous accusations throughout the document. The redundancy is hilarious. Fact, Holly Brown is a former employee and shareholder who is allowed to resign. Unfortunately, her accusations are not true and are vindictive in nature.
Okay, first of all, you said nothing there. Second of all, wait, she was an employee who was allowed to resign? What were you gonna do? Like, chain her up in your basement and force her to work? Like, you were gonna put her into a sweatshop if she tried to leave? What do you mean she was allowed to resign? Like, this thing of, like, the condescending nature of, like, well, we deigned to give her the privilege to resign from this position whenever she wanted. Like, no shit. That's a given. That's not a privilege.
Accusation. Oh, they're just laying it into her. Holly Brown alleges CEO Mike Mashad is the sole owner of Nostalgia Critic IP. Fact, the IP is owned by Channel Awesome Incorporated. Oh my God. That's corporate personhood.
Good job.
The partnership.
That shows her.
The really partnership is owned by 4 individuals, with a 5th person joining ownership by the end of the year.
Okay. As they stated, as a fact, Holly Brown is a former employee. They're not addressing when and how this happened. So for the time being, it could seriously be. I would not be surprised if while Holly Brown was working there, Mike Michaud was the sole owner, and since she has been gone, now they have multiple owners.
Accusation. Holly Brown alleges Channel Awesome had her work during To Boldly Flee after her surgery.
Actually, backpedaling for just a second, I do also think it's interesting that they say the partnership is owned by 4 individuals with a 5th person joining ownership by the end of the year. They didn't name the, like, I'm not saying this means that it's not true, but they definitely didn't say, by the way, Doug Walker is one of the people who owns it. That doesn't mean that he's not one of the people who owns it. I'm just saying they didn't say that he owns any of it.
Yeah, and it's possible that he might be the 5th coming.
Or something like that. We don't know. What they told us was not illuminating.
No. Fact. During this time, Robert Walker, Doug Walker's brother, Doug Walker, and Mike Michaud told her that she did not have to work. Site updates were performed by others as she recovered.
And I'll go through this screenshot that they have, that they provided as their evidence. But I want to say I have already seen Holly post a photograph on Twitter of her on the set where you can see her drainage tube.
Just out of curiosity, what is her handle?
Hang on one moment. I saw it under the hashtag change the channel. I think her handle is Holly Christine. Yeah, Holly Christine at GookieGox. GOOKYGOX. And she said, I like how the conversation proving that I didn't work on To Boldly Flee is one that took place before my surgery. Right. Oh, hey, and here's a pic of me on the set.
What?
You can even see the drain hanging out of the bottom of my dress.
What is it again? GookieGox.
GOX. So before we get into the conversation, yeah, she did post this picture.
I guess I'm looking it up wrong.
GOO.
Yeah.
KYGOX.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry.
So while you're looking that up, the supposed proof that they have is from March 21st, 2012. Doug, that's fine then. Mike, at least on flight times, mainly for the pickups. Doug, no problem. Robert, nothing going on in Trollland. Holly, Houston, we have a problem. Mike, Robert, what? Holly, I am in an incredible amount of pain from my gallbladder today that I nearly called one of you to take me to the hospital today. Clearly, I'm not going to Iowa, but I can't really get anything else done in this state. Okay, hold the presses. First of all, the fact that they're releasing this without her permission is shitty, and now I feel bad for even looking at it. Like, this is her personal medical information. If she didn't publish this herself, they have no right to publish this. This is not okay. Second of all, she was in so much pain that she almost asked somebody to take her to the hospital. She did not need to be pushed to that state. Even if you're trying to say, like, oh, well, she told us that she was in so much pain that she almost had to go to the hospital. We told her she didn't have to work after that. Why was it being pushed that far? For your little web show? Like, no, there is no media content creation that is worth somebody's life or their health.
Yeah, also, like, this is one of the clear reasons why you need replacements. Because
yeah, having one person person in HR does not work, clearly.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you know, for almost every project that I've had some people on the side like, hey, I probably won't use you on set, but can you help me out if I need you?
Oh my god, this is getting worse. Okay, hang on. So the last thing she said was, clearly I'm not going to Iowa, but I can't really get anything else done in this state. Rob, for the 4-year during or pre-production or both? No concern for her well-being, mind you. Just, oh, pre-production, production, or both? Holly, both. I've been curled up in a ball for the last 13 hours. I'm really scared. Rob, do you want to go to the ER? Holly, I'm afraid if I go, they'll want to take it out today. Mike, there is no reason to keep being in pain, though. I can take up all the other shit during the 4-year. Gee, thanks. Rob, yeah, what Mike said. Mike, don't want a rupture or anything. Rob, we'll have myself, Jillian, Mike. Jim Trokin was offering some help. I might be able to give him a call. Mike, isn't Jim in Florida? Holly, then yes, I want to go. I just feel bad. This is all happening right now. Mike, it's all good. Just get whatever needs done. The longer it gets put off, the worse it could be. Rob, health trumps business. It'd be easier knowing that you're on the mend anyway. Holly, okay. Robert, okay. So now what? Holly, hospital. I have to write down all my meds. Rob, how are you getting there? Holly, I need someone to take me. There's no way I can drive. Rob, I can take you, but I can't stay long because I've got to work in the Chiro office tonight. They pulled a
Cairo,
okay. They pulled a fast one on me because I'm out next Tuesday and the following Monday. Doug, if you need someone to pick you up, just give me a call. I'm going to be out today. But if you call and let me know where you are, I can come and get you. Pick up as in after Rob drops you off. Thanks. Thanks, dude, for all your concern. Holly, okay. Doug, all right. So Rob, you drop her off, and if she needs to be picked up, I'll do it when she calls. The number again is redacted. Rob, okay, let me get ready. I'll leave in a few moments. Which hospital are we going to? Doug, heading out. Give me a call when you need me. Smiley face. Thanks for all the concern. Holly, I have no idea what's close. Rob, Hinsdale, there's Good Sam. That's in Downers where I took Aaron. Holly, that's probably the closest one I know. Mike, LaGrange Memorial is on 55th and Willow Springs Road. Rob, I can do either. BRB, just type an answer. Holly, I don't care if LaGrange is closer, then I want to go there. Rob, okay, will do. Leaving in 2 minutes. See you shortly. Holly, K. Rob, Doug, make sure to give me that head count for catering. I need to know what the exact number of people eating to make sure to include any staff you want as well. So they do actually have a little bit of crafty. Rob,
this
time. Rob, Holly goes into surgery today at 2:30, assuming the inflammation on the gallbladder stays down. Her plan as of last night was to continue to recoup in the hospital if the doc allows it. Dude, this is so awful. To clarify, this was the day after she was asked to be taken to the hospital. So we've switched from March 22nd to March 23rd. Mike, it'd be better to stay at home, though, I think. I think the comfort of home would be better than a shared hotel room. Yeah. Rob, I'll talk to her post-op. I think she'd rather do the hotel because being at home alone will drive her nuts, and I think she'd rather be in the loop. Her idea, not mine. If she's that bad, I'm going to offer her our place so Aaron can be around at night. Mike, do you want to do the 4-year now? Wait, Doug isn't on. Rob, I'm typing a lot so I can wait. Instructions for catering and updated info on the 4-year chat. I'm finalizing a list of what we'll need. Mike, you there? Mike, yeah. Rob, Doug, gonna hop on in a sec. Mike, K, give me 5. Rob, okay. So again, this is like basic human dignity. And they're acting like, oh, we were so good to provide this for her. She was to the point where she needed surgery and had to be taken to the emergency room And we allowed her to take time for that. We allowed her. And clearly they didn't, because, as I said, there's a picture of her right there.
Where?
On Twitter. She provided it on Twitter with the drain hanging out of the bottom of her dress.
Okay, I'm looking for it right now. And oh, this one? Yeah. I see it.
I do want to pull up specifically what Holly said about...
I like how the conversation proving that I didn't work on TBF is the one that took place before my surgery. Oh, hey, here's a pic of me on set. You can see the drain hanging out of the bottom of my dress. Hashtag change the channel.
And right now I'm just looking. Here it is. She says in the Google document, I came to work on To Boldly Flee after surgery. The days I wasn't on set, I still gave them notes based on all the issues I'd heard about. After that, the only time I missed filming was when I had to go get the drain taken out of my abdomen. I don't think I ever received a final script to work from. So again, they're not disproving anything she said. She said, I had to come work after my surgery. I only was able to take time off to get the drain taken out of my abdomen. I wasn't given a final script to work on. And even while I wasn't on set, I was still working. That's what she's claiming. And what they just showed is, well, we allowed her to take time off to go to the hospital when her gallbladder was giving her so much pain that she needed surgery. Clearly, we weren't doing anything wrong. The fact that they provide this themselves proves that they have no idea how they need to be treating other people.
Accusation. Lindsay Ellis alleges Doug Walker and Channel Awesome ignored concerns regarding the transformation scene. Fact. As the screenshot below shows, Lindsay was repeatedly asked for her opinion and approval of the scene before it was finalized. Lindsay even helped Doug make the scene sound better. And for those of you not familiar, this is the rape scene.
Right. I'm trying to look up the exact change that was made to make it sound better. I think it was sexually suggestive noises. Oh, wait, that was it. Doug's solution was, rather than rewrite it, have a toned-down version in the final cut in which I make comical sexual assault noises instead of the original script as written. In effect, it was not changed. It is still an extended rape joke, just perhaps less overt.
All right, and so they put a screenshot, and Lindsay says, just remember, audience memory is one shot long. Doug says, oh, almost forgot as well for the scene where you're getting assimilated. You need the grunt noises. They can be as over the top and silly as...
And he doesn't finish that thought.
And then she posts an MP3, and then he says, thank you. I did some pre-mixing to add a tiny poppy reverb. Lindsay says, so assuming the frame rate is as you should just be able to drop it in the timeline. Doug says, perfect. Will you also have time to do the scream and grunts sometime soon? It doesn't have to be right away, but by Monday would be preferred. Lindsay, sure, just not right now. Neighbors got babies, apparently. Doug says, all good. Lindsay says, I can do daytime screaming. I just didn't today because my voice was all shot. Singing like Bonnie Tyler is hard. That was supposed to be a joke. Doug says, LOL, all good. Thanks again. Lindsay, no prob.
And then it goes from August 16th, 2012 to August 20th, 2012.
Do you know when you'll have the screaming and grunts done? And Lindsay posts an MP3 and Doug says, thank you. Lindsay says, I'm going to have to take the screaming and grunting line out of context to discredit you by the by. And Doug says, of course.
Which, of course, does not sound very good now, even though that was clearly a joke.
Lindsay, also, when you're mixing it, do you know how to do an EQ? And Doug says, a bit. Lindsay says, easy way to make something sound like it's coming from the other side of the door is to cut out the higher frequencies, anything above 15 kilohertz. Lindsay, above. Doug says, I use a low pass as well. We'll keep that in mind. Lindsay, that would be a low pass. Same thing, cool. And then
Doug sends a file.
Yeah. And then here's the scene. I'm leaning towards cutting it, but I still want to know your thoughts, Lindsay says. So you're going to cut from drill after Film Brain? As I see it, it's not that bad, but it's up to you. Though, by its point, I'm sure it's well exported. This is Rob. We have both versions uploaded. When he reads this, he'll tell Holly which one to go with. Lindsay, well, Doug said his problem last night is that it just wasn't funny. So I don't feel it's necessarily offensive or creepy. So Doug, go with your instance, whichever is fine with me. And I can't read the last part.
Lindsay says, hey, Doug, you should put that song up on iTunes Stat. Gonna get a lot of requests for it. Money being lost. So out of all of the points, actually, this is the only one that's being refuted even a little bit. Because while this is clearly... like, it can easily be that both sides are true in this case, where Lindsay and Linkara had a discussion about it, and then they talked to Doug about it, and then after that conversation, there's this conversation where she gives approval for it, Taylor Swift style. I don't know about you, but this whole conversation where she's like, oh, well, I told him I didn't like it, and then he has a recording of her saying, well, it's not offensive or creepy, so just do whatever you want, does kind of feel like the phone conversation with Taylor and Kanye. Did you ever see that?
No.
Well, you know how there was the whole thing where Kanye said Taylor and I might still have sex because I made that bitch famous? God damn! You don't know this?
No.
Really?
No, sorry.
In the music video, he has a naked wax model of Taylor Swift right next to him in bed? How do you not? Have you been living under a rock? What is wrong with you?
Yes, I have.
So this all happened, and then Taylor Swift immediately said she didn't approve of the song lyrics. She's not okay with any of it. And then at the Grammys, she said the whole thing about, oh, you know, people are going to take credit for your fame. It was a dig at Kanye. And then Kim came out with a video of Taylor Swift on the phone with Kanye West saying, it's really tongue-in-cheek, so you can do whatever you want. So, like, it's one of those things where I really feel iffy about it because it could be that they felt uncomfortable about it and didn't articulate it well in the moment, and then a line that they said was taken out of context as, like, some sort of approval. But this is the closest thing to actual rebuttal that they have. Lindsay said that they weren't comfortable with it, and they explicitly told Doug they didn't want to do it, and Doug told them to tone it down. Doug's idea was to tone it down with these, as she put it, comical sexual assault noises. And then they provide a link saying that she specifically said, Doug's problem was that it wasn't funny. And it's not necessarily offensive or creepy, so do what you want to do. And also, they never say the term comical sexual assault noises. So I'm not going to say, oh, well, they never had a conversation saying that what was originally written in the script was uncomfortable. But this does kind of show that she gave some form of communication that they could have the last say on it.
Yeah, she showed she was uncomfortable, but she was willing to work with them, which is something that happens with actors a lot of times. Like sometimes they'll get into a situation where they're not 100% comfortable with the situation, but they don't want to get taken off the project, or, you know, they want to still work with it. So they wind up compromising or just doing it, you know, at the behest of their own dignity.
Right. And there were a lot of complaints from multiple people that there were problems with people actually getting the script at a decent time and reading through it before things were approved of and filmed and put out.
Mm-hmm.
So who's to say how much that's affecting this conversation? But that's their strongest defense that they've had so far.
Yeah. Accusation. Lindsay Ellis alleges Channel Awesome did not do enough to protect female content partners from abusive commenters. Now, okay, so getting onto this one before I reveal the fact and stuff like that, the whole like moderation with like content things, like this is the only time where I'm going to be a little bit more nuanced in my approach, not 100% against Channel Awesome in this one segment. Let's face it, the internet is full of a lot of anonymous people speaking their mind. Sometimes gut reaction, sometimes intoxicated, sometimes, you know, et cetera, et cetera. We don't know the mindset of all the people writing on the internet. And yes, people do write really toxic, really horrible things. And yes, there is a trend of specifically targeting women, especially when they see them as not being as well knowledged or versed in something. And the comments will get more sexist. That is something that exists. But it to moderate that stuff can be a full-time job.
And they clearly did not have anybody on board to do that.
Right.
And also, I would say out of anything that was addressed in the document, I would classify dealing with like comments is probably the least important thing, because that has the least amount to do with the way that the channel is run, the way that your videos are posted, the way that your content is created. Because when you're talking about people commenting, you're getting into issues of free speech. What is really allowed? What isn't allowed? Now, from my understanding, my super, super basic knee-jerk reaction understanding is it's Channel Awesome's page. They can kick people off if they want. It's not a public forum. But there is a morality and, you know, the spirit of free speech that should be addressed, where it's like, you know what? You can't kick off everybody who hurts your feelings.
Yeah, and just getting on that for a bit, talking about YouTube. Now, one thing I do know is YouTube does punish channels for sometimes the comments that are made on their channel. Like they'll view it as like a toxic environment, and like even if you're not somebody writing you know, sexist, racist, you know, whatever, bigoted or harmful or
whatever term you feel like using today.
Exactly. Even if that's not the content that you produce, if people are putting that in the comments section, your channel can suffer because of it. And I run into this problem sometimes, and you know, when somebody, like, I usually keep it up unless it's something that doesn't say anything or is so out of place that, you know, it's just shouldn't be on there. Like, if anybody directly attacks somebody or like says something, you know, I will do that moderation, but I try to keep it as free speech as possible on my channel.
Right. That being said, Channel Awesome has a strict policy regarding their community, including IP banning all abusive posters, as well as banning their account via username and email, and continuing to monitor our forums. We worked with Lindsay directly to help her address issues resulting from an abusive commenter, singular. And this is a really difficult one to go line by line, but it's essentially a conversation that Mike is having towards Lindsay. One specific conversation about one specific person that he is trying to find the IP to block from her channel. And she ends the conversation by saying that he's commented on a specific video. One example does not prove that you did this more than once. And especially when you say we worked with Lindsay directly about an abusive commenter, singular, that does not prove that you did enough to protect female content partners from abusive commenters. Like,
yeah.
I don't know why they even bothered with this, really. Out of all of the things that they decided not to talk about, I don't know why they didn't just not talk about this one. Accusation. Allison Pregler, aka Obscura Slupa, states, not a single person wasn't miserable. Fact. And they link to a video that they have posted themselves on their own Vimeo. That's a 34 clip segment. In this video, you'll find that Allison says it was a great production to be a part of. It was a lot of fun to be a part of this and Suburban Nights.
I don't know if you want this for the behind-the-scenes thing, but I thought I would just add, you know, that it was a great production to be a part of. It was a lot of fun to be part of this and Suburban Nights. I hope that future projects are in the works and that, you know, all of us get to work together again. I love being a part of this site, a part of these productions, and it truly is really the highlight of this year and last year. You know, getting to spend time with such great people and do what I love doing most, and that's entertaining people and creating things.
Okay, besides the fact that that's taken out of context, again, that's not discrediting anything she ever said. Yeah, she probably did have a fun time playing her character, working with other people, actually doing the content creating side. That the fact that you have her on record saying that she had a good time does not negate the myriad of problems related to this production and the way that you run your site in general.
Yeah, I mean, there have been many times where I've, you know, had a good interaction with somebody, but like, you know, on a particular day with production or something like that, like something doesn't work out. All productions have issues. Like, the idea of a perfect production is practically a myth. Because, you know, things happen, you know, either actors don't get their lines right and you got to go over it several times, or, you know, something happens with the lights, or, you know, et cetera, et cetera. You know, productions are hard, but like sometimes you have a good time on set, and like sometimes the stuff afterwards becomes like a big deal. And like this whole thing with Channel Awesome isn't just about filming on one day. Yes, I have mentioned the whole thing about craft services because what the fuck, but you know, as far as like how their site is run, that's completely
an ongoing problem.
Yeah.
Also, to put this in context, she did say this about To Boldly Flee. She said, not a single person wasn't miserable except Doug, who had no idea how badly it had went. He thought this was a grandiose send-off that everyone was happy with, just completely in his own world. They had to have a private meeting with him to tell him the state of things. But also, the fact that you have a video of him, or of her, I'm sorry, for your special features on your DVD, that you're now holding over her head and against her, shows that she wasn't interested in dragging these problems out into a public spotlight. Like, what did you expect her to say? Oh, by the way, I don't know if you want to use this for the special features of the DVD, but this was completely miserable. You have no idea what you're doing. These situation is miserable, and the only reason I put myself through this is because I want to be doing what I'm here to do, which is create content and entertain people and have fun with my friends.
Accusation. Multiple content partners address the lack of communication. Fact. We agree communication could have and should have been better. We got into this business based on our passion for content creation and have had many growing pains over the years. We also strive to learn from our mistakes and strengthen our skills. Have we made mistakes? Yes, we have. We have even discussed some of our challenges in our behind-the-scenes videos.
Not linked. We did not take the care to cut that out of context and post it to Vimeo and embed it into this article.
Right? We've always focused on trying to entertain our viewers, shine spotlights on unknown talent.
Wait, what? Wait, when?
Exactly.
Bitch, where?
And share our attention with various charities. What charities?
I think they have done charity drives.
Okay. And we hope to continue to do so moving forward.
I know they had problems with that one game show fundraiser that they were planning on doing, but I think they've done charity drives before.
Oh, okay.
And that's the end of it. That is everything they stated. They didn't even have a conclusion. They didn't even have, like, a genuine defense for themselves. They didn't have an actual apology of any kind. All they did was say, oh, hey, you know how everybody thinks that we're so terrible and they're saying all these things publicly about how horribly we treated them? Well, they're all wrong and vindictive and mean. So let's go point by point and prove how terrible and awful we were.
Wow. And just going back to the chat, Death by Blunderbuss said, good to see Brad left. I was part of the podcast, and we were lucky to have him on years ago. You know, I was able to get through all of the stuff that's gone on in Hollywood, Spacey Weinstein, but this just hits closer to home. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it really does.
Given I've been following them since the beginning. Whitey from Austria, are you sure Brad left? He's still listed on the site. Did he post something somewhere? World of Love 2, Guru Larry tweeted, winner, winner, chicken dinner. He apparently took a bet on who would be the last on the site, and he won.
Oh my god, wow, that's macabre and kind of funny. Brad Jones did publish something to Channel Awesome yesterday.
Okay.
So it looks like he's still there, I believe. He posted Jason X, the cinema snob. He posted something April 10th, Tyler Perry's Acrimony Midnight Screenings. He posted April 4th, Baby Huey's Great Easter Adventure. And the day that the document came out, he published Muppet Guys Talking Movie Review.
Okay.
But yeah, this newest one came out yesterday. Of course, the second comment says, "So when are you leaving this site, Brad?"
Where's that?
Oh, his most recent video on Channel Awesome. But as the next person correctly says, just leave it alone. It's Brad's decision. So.
Okay.
I did want to point out something else I saw on the hashtag change the channel discussion. Well, a couple of things. The first thing that comes up is ex-magical girl at Sweater Sage said, reminder that Doug was the deciding vote to fire Holly a day after surgery after she worked every day for years, then withheld her severance pay if she didn't sign a contract barring her from the industry. He's not just complicit, he was actively cruel. Kyle, Life is Not Fascism Calgren, who is also known as Brows Held High, posted on April 8th. One of the reasons I haven't wanted to add hashtag change the channel is because I'm worried about getting another suspension. Tweeting about thoughts of self-harm can get me flagged, and there's no way to discuss my time at That Guy with the Glasses without talking about my history of mental illness. Which is terrifying.
Yeah.
That's really sad, and also really unfair of Twitter that he has to be worried about being blocked over something like that. But I specifically wanted to point out this post by Helios Esbio at Helios Phoenix. These were the headliners of Channel Awesome in 2012, and it's a photograph. With the exception of 4 people, the Walkers, Rob and Doug, Brad Jones, and Angry Joe, who is now no longer with them, everyone in this photo has now left the site. It's the decline and fall of an empire, but Channel Awesome has no one to blame but themselves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Out of the 26 people listed, there are 3 people left. After 5 years.
Linkara says management didn't know the situations of their individual producers because they didn't care to. So be civil to those who are still there, be kind to the victims, and indeed change the channel.
Absolutely. So, even though I was kind of on everybody's side just reading that document initially, I was still taking it with a grain of salt because you never know the full story. But seeing the way that Channel Awesome has responded, it's dead set in my mind. I'm never going to support them again, period. I'm done. I was never a subscriber of theirs on YouTube, so I can't, officially unsubscribe. But after today, there's no more looking at their website, no more watching their videos. I do want to point out, I want to go over this document in a moment. Somebody took the time to make a chart of where to look at these content providers outside of That Guy with the Glasses. So you can still support the content creators without supporting Channel Awesome.
Okay, if you want to send it to me on Facebook, I can take it. It won't show up on the chat.
Oh, it's a document on Google Drive, and it's called Follow Your Favorite Producers. I'll send it to you right now.
Cool. Yeah, so this, it's been really frustrating hearing these accusations because I really enjoyed their work. Granted, it took a dip in the past couple of years. I think they really were trying to fight the YouTube adpocalypse, and in doing so, they tried putting out more content, quantity over quality, and I think that really hurt them as well. I think it was better when they were only producing like 1 or 2 videos a month, if that. I know it says like they had to produce things monthly, but I always thought it was better, and I always think it's better for channels to take their time to produce content. I've taken a step back on this channel because there are a couple things that I'm working on. Also, I'm in the process of moving, and I work 40 hours a week. So, I put a lot out for the Oscars, but yeah, I've taken a break for that. But then again, I don't get paid to do any of this stuff. My channel doesn't make money, and since YouTube changed their policies in February, I'm still waiting on a response because I did actually meet my goals for the 4,000 view hours and over 1,000 subscribers. And I contacted YouTube on Twitter, but they basically told me that they wouldn't be able to do anything until the end of April, and that was last month. So I'll see if anything gets done, but I highly doubt it. All right. Okay, so I have the Google Doc up right now, and here is basically some information on how to follow your favorite producers that have worked for Channel Awesome, and also some people who probably haven't. Are these all people who worked for Channel Awesome?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so this is where you can follow them. I will put this in the description once we're done live streaming. So you don't have to go on to Channel Awesome to see the channels that you like, or to see backlogs or anything like that. And also just so that you can find out who else was actually working for them. Because I'm sure many of you just, saw Doug Walker stuff and, occasionally saw other people and then found out about them that way.
Yeah, this might actually be better than what their website was doing, because it includes their Twitter, their links to their sites, mostly YouTube pages, their Patreon, and then actually a channel description. Although they have Rap Critic on here, but I don't think they have Todd and Shadows.
Interesting.
Which, hell yeah, Rap Critic, but where's Todd and Shadows? Maybe I just don't see it.
But yeah, definitely check out their work, because I think a lot of these people still have great content, and I don't want to hurt everybody, just the people that don't care really. So Yeah. So for all the people that were in chat, thank you so much for listening to us. For all the people who will hear this afterwards, and all the people who are not in chat but still listening to us, thank you. If there's any follow-up to this, let us know. We do have a Twitter handle. It's All Walks of Film. So yeah, just post anything onto there, and we'll try to get back to you. And if there is another ridiculous response that Channel Awesome makes in a response to the response of this, because this seems to be like what's happening now, we'll definitely comment on that. Thank you so much, and have a great evening, guys.